asked questions for 2 days previously on the fly. You did a very good job of it, by the way, without notes, so I'm not sure you needed notes now.
I know what it's like.
That's your question.
Are you going to answer the question or not?
If you have a question about signing for a prior inconsistent statement, the usual way you do it is you show the person the document, you say, did you sign this? Yes or no?
I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
No, the point is, if you have, I'm not, you know, yeah, no, if you have a copy of the document, yeah, if you have a copy of the document, you show the person, did you sign this? The document that says blah, 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 either yes or no.
Hey, he's coaching him.
I don't know what
He's coaching.
Okay, so I'll ask. Does your signature appear anywhere in this document? Can you show me where?
My signature is on the front cover of that document, yes.
Thank you. I just have one other question. There's an awful lot of land that looks like it's not being used. So what's the purpose for all that extra land?
Would you show where you're referring to?
It looks like all this property here isn't being used. Is that part of the site plan?
The property being referred to, well, there's actually two pieces there. And, firstly, this application is, as was stated, there's a subdivision application as well as the site plan application. And as part of the subdivision, there is a 5-acre lot, which I've outlined with the pointer on Exhibit A4. There are no plans for development on that lot at this time. And if there was an application in the future, it would be subject to an application and review before this board, presuming it was a permitted use. The other green area, further to the northwest, is part of the lot where the asphalt plant is proposed, and it is being left in green space. And it's actually our proposal to leave it fallow meadow.
So is there anything in this application that prevents you from once, if, hopefully not, but if this goes through, that you can do whatever you want on that extra plot of land there?
The owner, whoever owns this piece of property,
Not that one, the one you said that's part of this?
that up here,
Yes.
no, nothing could be done in there. In addition, it's in the JCP&L utilities.
So you can't do anything in that zone?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My name is Lisa Nash. I live at 2 Sundance Way, Lopatcong. The document the gentleman showed you, was that the previous EIS, or was that something
That
else?
was
Because we couldn't tell.
That was the environmental impact and community impact statement that was submitted as part of an application before this board, which was heard by the board in September of last year.
Right, so it's not currently submitted as the current package?
That is correct.
Correct. Okay, so the question though, assuming you made a statement that runoff might occur, doesn't your permit before the state have to address dealing with that, since you will be discharged, or you might have runoff into the truck using waters, or you're not allowed to discharge? Are you or aren't you allowed to discharge? Let me start with that. Are you or are you allowed to discharge?
We need to get we need to comply with the state standards for stormwater runoff. And in the case of a hot mix asphalt producer, we're required to get, well, first we need to get local approval. And those regulations are based on the state stormwater management regulations. In addition, because it's an asphalt producer, there is a stormwater, a general stormwater permit, a separate permit that is required through the state.
So you're held to a higher standard in your discharge because of what you want by the state?
That's correct.
All right, so you're not allowed to, if runoff does occur from the site, which it will with rain,
It has
and
to.
it goes to your stormwater detention system or whatever system you get permitted from the state, you're monitored and not allowed to have contaminated runoff from the site. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, that's all.
Bruce Hall, 187 Stratford Hackman. There was testimony about a structure, 80-foot tall structure.
An 85-foot high silo.
Okay, where would that be located?
The silo is a complex or a structure where finished asphalt material is stored after it's been produced, and that is the location on the site.
Okay, and on that property, there's a JCPL tower,
That's correct.
and where's that located?
I'm pointing to the tower with the pointer now on Exhibit
And do
4.
you know the height of that tower?
It's approximately 195 feet high.
So the silo is approximately half the height then?
That's correct.
And is there any requirement to have any kind of buffering to hide the height of the tower?
No.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Julia Summers, and I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Highlands Coalition. I was coming up cautiously because I didn't know if there was somebody else from Lopatcong who wanted to come before me, since you said that local people have to come first.
Karen Risco, 1202 Circle, Chicago. Risco, R-I-S-K-O. Too tall. What benefit to the applicant is the subdivision? Why do you seek the subdivision?
First of all, it's the applicant's application. The applicant has the right to structure it how they will. And the applicant is not the property owner. In accordance with our submissions, the applicant is just the applicant. And that's based upon the discussions with the current property owner.
Okay, unfortunately, you're not the right witness to some of those questions. Thank you.
Hi, Mark Morale, 37 Meadowview Drive. Looking at the site plan there, the main access into the site is that the flag lot pole there, correct? Correct. So that's the only really access for vehicles.
That is correct, yes. That would be the access to the...
Okay, so looking at the rest of the site, it seems to be pretty crowded all the way around the site. It seems to be kind of landlocked with buildings and other, I can't really tell from that Google photo what that stuff is, but it looks like buildings and other things. Okay. Let's pretend there's a disaster at the site, catches on fire. Okay, that roadway is blocked by a tipped-over dump truck on fire. The rest of the plant is burning. How do emergency personnel access the site to put out the fire?
There is access to the site on an emergency basis through the stowaway project.
Can you indicate that on the overview?
Well, here, this driveway, the driveway, I'm going to point to Exhibit A4. We show the extension of the private road. There's a driveway that leads to the stowaway site, and it is my understanding that that access was put in for emergency purposes at the time it was approved. And here we have, I'm now going to point to Exhibit A1, and there is an access way to the rear of the stowaway buildings, which would allow access to the emergency driveway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further Lopatcong Road?
My name is Cheryl Wolf. I live at 646 Huntingbrook Circle. I'm in the overlook at Lopatcong complex. At the end of my, WULFF. At the end of my cul-de-sac, the train runs through there,
Okay.
the freight train. And my concern is that sometimes the train just does sit there. Do you have any plans to run a section of the train into this plant and then transport asphalt out of there and through that residential area at any time?
No,
No plans at all to run the train through?
no.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How are you? Olszewski, 48 J Lane, Lopan. Two questions. One, the plane lit 24 hours brightly, correct? 400 watts of light.
It would be lit during, it wouldn't really make sense to have it lit. It could be lit 24 hours if they were operating the plant, but I think it wouldn't make sense from an energy use perspective to
So
have
it's
it
not going to be
on.
lit at night? Well,
I'd just like the witness to be able to finish his answer without being repeated.
Yeah, so I think if they've already, I think that, the ordinance already allows them to operate on a 24-hour basis. So if they're in operation, they would be lit.
okay.
Now, we're I think to keep it in somewhat in perspective, it's in a research office and manufacturing zone surrounded by other either industrial or commercial uses. So, and we're quite a distance from the nearest home. So, yes, it will be lit.
One question I asked, and how do you know there's no glare? How do you, before one light's put up, how do you know there's no glare? How do you do that? Okay.
We have 30
That's
foot.
it, very simple. I don't know why you're laughing every
Sir.
class.
We
What?
have 30 foot high fixtures.
Okay.
They are set back a significant distance from the property boundary because of the requirement for a 50-foot buffer. They are shoebox type fixtures, so the light does not escape in a wide envelope. And so with the combination of having the fixtures set back with a 50-foot buffer, and then related to their height, we don't. That's
Question two, Mr. Van, please. Why is the board not interested to see renderings of the finished structure?
Pardon? I can't understand.
Why is the board not interested to see renderings of how the plant actually sits in the lane? So how do we know? When I drive down Strikers Road, I have cornfields now. It appears that in addition to the towers, I will have smokestacks and 6-foot fences. Why is the board not interested in seeing renderings before it's done? I know it's not required. Why not wanting to see it?
When you say rendering, are you referring to plans and pictures?
Yeah, pictures like when the architect came and he
We
did
haven't seen them.
how the thing looks done in the land with the stacks and everything.
Exactly.
Can we see them?
Set of plans here, you're able to draw them out anytime you want.
All right, thanks.
Neil Fair, Sheriff Archer and Bryan, representing the adjacent property owner, precast concrete.
Could you speak a little louder?
Sure.
Hold the mic down, please.
I'd be happy to. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I need glasses. Can you describe the subsurface groundwater flow below your client's property?
no, I can't.
Okay. Do you know if there are any plumes under your client's property and where they would run into any aquifers?
I do not know that.
So you're not aware of the impact of your client's property and the asphalt plant on possible aquifers, well water, drinking water?
I will tell you that my answer is that we are designing this site in accordance with state, local, federal regulations. All regulations are being complied with.
I understand that you have a plan for zero runoff. But the question is there going to be adverse impacts onto the drinking water and well water in the community?
We are designing, we have designed the site and will comply with all state, local, and federal regulations. And those are the regulations that the purpose is to protect the environment and those who live in it.
Okay, so my question is, have you reviewed the township's site plan ordinance requirements as far as what they can review? What the standards are for the site plan ordinance
I have
as to
submitted-
either health
I have
impacts,
submitted
traffic, etc.
the environmental impacts that you're talking about, the requirements that are listed in the ROM zone portion of the ordinance. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the entire land use ordinance for the township of Lopatcong. And have you reviewed the standards by which, and pursuant to which, a board would approve a site plan ordinance? Because I've been to plenty of planning board meetings where they will ask questions about elevations of a silo, of buildings. They will ask questions about traffic impacts, and they will ask questions about the impact on groundwater and well water in
Right.
a township that uses well water.
I will tell you that we have complied with the ordinances of the township. And then we've submitted those applications to the township's planning board for review by us.
So is it your testimony that you as the engineer are not the one that's going to be providing that testimony as to possible adverse impacts of this plant on traffic, on water, no? Groundwater?
We have a traffic engineer with regard to stormwater and the runoff from this site. As I said, that we have designed our site in accordance with state and local regulations. And in addition to that, we're required to obtain a general stormwater permit specific to asphalt plants. And we will obtain that permit and we will comply with the requirements of that permit.
Do you know the level of the water table on your property, your client's property?
It's fairly deep.
Do you know how deep?
I do not know specific.
Okay, I appreciate your answers. And so you're not aware of how to prevent asphalt petroleum product from seeping into the groundwater?
We are. We have, on this particular site, we have purposely paved the plant area. And on the downside of the paved area, we have put in a curb. So as it rains, the water that falls on the plant will reach our storm water collection system. It won't travel into the lawn areas. It will be captured by a storm sewer system. It is a watertight system. It will carry that water to a water quality detention basin. The design is the basin has been designed in accordance with the state stormwater regulations using their best management practices manual. Is a sand filter. Water will get into the sand filter. The water quality treatment will occur in the detention basin. The basin itself, because we're in a karst area, will have a liner. But we don't want that water before it is treated.
And by the way, that's the kind of question I was asking.
I'd like the witness to be allowed to answer the question. While he was answering, he was interrupted to finish his answer.
As long as he's not using my 5 minutes, I'm okay.
So as
You ask the question, you get the answer.
So we don't want the water to have an opportunity to get into the ground prior to being treated. So the water goes into a detention basin with a liner that prevents water from getting into seeping into the ground. It is treated and then it is discharged from our site.
Perfect. My other question has to do with sinkholes. Are you the person that I asked about sinkholes?
I will tell you that I am not a sinkhole expert, and I'm not a geologist. I did read our geologist's report, and he did not indicate in his report that he found any sinkholes on his property.
Okay, because my client's property next door had plenty of sinkholes when he was doing construction. But my question is, so you do not believe that there are sinkholes?
Well, again,
and the board is going to be...
whether this is...
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Lee Rozicki, 56 Pudding Stone Way, Lopatcong. You discussed emergency access. Has the Lopatcong Fire Department reviewed and approved your emergency access plan?
I will tell you that as part of a prior application, we made a submission to the fire company, and we did not get a response. However, we fully intend to cooperate with the emergency services.
So you've had no contact whatsoever with the Lopatcong Fire Department?
Mike, I had contact with the Lopatcong Township Police Chief, and I asked him some various questions with regard to emergency access.
Mr. Rozicki, I might be able to answer the question. In my review letter, I had a comment about the fire department getting an opportunity to review the plans and commenting on the plans. The applicant is in agreement with that, and there's going to be a condition in the approval that the applicant do that. And if the fire department has some comments relative to the plans, the applicant's going to have to change the plans to address those comments.
So they have not reviewed the plans yet?
I don't think that has happened, no, but they've agreed to submit the plans to the fire department as a condition of approval. And if there are comments from the fire department, they're going to have to change their plans in response to those comments.
What would happen if a fire department cannot handle an emergency explosion on your facility? How do you account for that in your plans?
I don't believe that's an area of my expertise. The only thing I will tell you is that the road, as was mentioned before, the road itself is designed to township standards, and quite frankly, it's a 34-foot wide access drive, so it's plenty wide. And I understand your question relates to firefighting. But I will tell you that there is plenty of access, and we do have water available to the site.
Could you show on the map where the natural gas pipes will be laid?
I'm going to refer to sheet 4 of 16 from the site plan set of drawings that are on file with the board. The plan is entitled Grading and Utility Plan, and it is last revised February 3rd, 2012. Again, it is the plan that's on file. And on this plan, we show the gas line being extended down Strikers Road, and then down the access drive, and then into our site.
The access drive, I was confused. Is that a public drive or is that a private drive?
It is a street, and it could be dedicated to the township, but the township has indicated that they would prefer for it to remain in private ownership for the reasons that we previously discussed.
I understand there was a community impact study Part of that community impact study, was there any thought as to the impact on emergency services and the increase to purchase emergency services, whether fire, police, what have you, in order to properly service an emergency at your site?
I would object on legal grounds. You can't require an applicant, especially a conforming one, as a condition of approval to purchase a fire truck or a police vehicle. The theory is that the taxes from this will defer the cost of the emergency service vehicles.
Were you asking that they purchase additional?
No, I'm asking what is the impact of this site plan to our emergency services? Was that implicated at all in the community impact study?
By the company that qualified, that would be, that's the answer.
As I mentioned earlier, with regard to impact on emergency services, my conversation was with the chief of police, and he did not see he did not indicate that he felt there was any safety issue with the design of our site.
So there was no discussion with the fire department?
I did not have that discussion.
With reference to the height of the curbs surrounding the property, what is going to be the height that's going to protect torrents of rain from spilling over, going down the hill into a Class 1 creek?
It's a 6-inch curb.
6-inch curb.
Correct. And the inlets themselves have been, located along that curb line are actually double inlets. They're not a single inlet.
Is it like a big, huge drainage pool that's going to collect the water? Is that?
The pavement is sloped so that the water sheds in a southerly direction to a curb line where there are a number of inlets set such that as water runs to those inlets, it is collected and makes its way to the detention basin.
And then what happens as it sits in the ditch basin?
In the detention basin?
Yes.
Okay. As I said, this is a water quality as well as a rate of runoff feature that is designed in accordance with state standards. And the water enters the detention basin, and it first enters what is called a forebay, where the heaviest particles have an opportunity to settle out, and then the water is metered or goes through a smaller pipe to go into where the sand filter is, and then the sand filter provides the water quality treatment to collect suspended solids, and then once that treatment has been done, the water then seeps down through the sand and is collected by an under drainage system and then exits the basin.
And where does the water from the exit basin go to?
It discharges, and there was some discussion earlier about the need for an easement on the stowaway site. It discharges to an existing swale that was constructed at the time that the stowaway facility was built.
And how far is the stowaway from the basin?
How far is the stowaway site?
Right.
From our basin?
And then just a follow-up question, how far is that from the buffer zone, the buffer area farther down?
Buffer area you're referring to the one.
Well, isn't there a buffer around the whole perimeter of the site?
Our basin is about 20 feet from the stowaway site, and I will tell you that our site is about 500 feet from dry run. And And being a C1 stream, there's a 300-foot buffer associated with dry run. So, approximately, our discharge is somewhere in the vicinity of 200 feet from the regulated buffer.
On the buffer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'm going to take a 5-minute break in order to get the court reporter time to reload our machine. So, 5 minutes.